But the scare tactics of individuals that don't understand it, they're just not informed, Bill. And it's hard for us to ever get everybody on board. This first data center is, of course, going to be about 10 miles outside of town. And, we're just going to have to do a better job, as well as they are. They're going to have to explain the technologies. But I explain this to people, and I explain it to my board. The federal government trumps what the state is going to do. The state trumps what the county is going to do. And the county trumps what the city is going to do unless there's a city ordinance for any of these things that go on. But the opportunity to have the open areas, the vast amount of lands, the reproduced water or the produced water that we have, and then recycle it and turn it into industrial grade. Those are opportunities that would never have come down to Pecos in this area if we would not have embraced them and worked diligently with the state of Texas and their officials to get all this stuff done.
Now, as we see these new industries coming into our community and the construction going on and so forth, I would anticipate we'll probably see a boom in the retail sector and certainly in the housing. And, of course, we're already seeing some of that, but I would expect we'll see a lot of housing in the near future, right?
Well, and to the credit of the Commissioners Court, Judge Hung and the commissioners, Hinojos, Campos, and Ms. Moore, they have all been proactive in understanding what's going to be knocking at their door. Are we ready? Are we 100% ready for all this? No. Do we have an opportunity to get ready? The answer is yes. But just look at Lincoln East. It didn't happen just for no reason at all. My board and myself, we've been explaining to the entities that these things are going to be coming. We opened up the genie bottle. We worked very hard in 1 week, it'll be 3 years that I started as the executive director. And we went at it, blowing and going as fast as we could to take the what I call the, just the things that people thought were no good, the trashes, and make them our treasures, Bill. Something that we're going to be able to grow our community with. And it's just not the oil and gas industry. We are diversifying as fast as we can, with the knowledge that we can, with the partners and the people that are necessary to make these type of projects happen. They have to have a good balance sheet. It's just not the dreamers. It's the people that have implemented these things. And, of course, we were delighted to have a chance to meet and visit with our state representative, Eddie Morales, who was in town on Friday. And, of course, he and his wife, Helen, were here at our studio. As a matter of fact, we had a chance to do an interview with them, and we certainly enjoyed that. But I know Eddie was in town to meet with the city officials, meet with the county officials, and meet with others as he was here this past week. That's a great segue into what I'm about to tell you, Bill. We also had some individuals that met with Representative Morales and his wife, Helen, and our lobbyist that represents not only the Economic Development Corporation but the city and the county. His name is Ernie Gonzalez from EMC. But we were able to entertain a group from Asia that was down here that we have been working with for the last 6 to 9 months on projects that they're wanting to bring into our community because we have really been listed as a business-friendly community. Yes, we have our differences, but there are more things that we have in common than the things that divide us. So, the beautiful part is they were thrilled to be here in Pecos. They were elated to hear the things that we've been doing, and hopefully they'll be here next month. I say in 2 months, to sit down and visit with the judge and the city officials again.
Now, these are potential investors then, right?
These are potential investors. These are huge investors that are headed our way.
All right.
That we have courted, and we're very much interested in the technologies and the projects, the business, the manufacturing that they're willing to bring to Pecos, Texas. And that's why we're working so hard with the Texas State University system to have a surplus of trained professionals, educated professionals that can come in and do the work that they're asking us to help them with.
All right, very good. Well, that is exciting, and we appreciate you sharing that. Now, these potential investors that were here, I understand they got to see their first rodeo.
They got a chance to sit down and wave and enjoy. They did not believe that this was going to be a reality. They came with the idea to discuss business, and when we told them a week or two before that we were going to ask the rodeo committee to welcome them into the arena and acknowledge them. They did. And so it was a great opportunity for them to see the rodeo. This be their first rodeo, and they were just elated. So we're glad to have them here.
All right, very good. Jimmy, is there anything that you can share with us this morning as far as retail is concerned? Anything new? I know you have always a lot of things cooking, but there's some things you can talk about at this point, and there's probably a lot of things you can't. But how are things looking in that area?
You know, if we hit the timelines, which of course are scheduled for the end of the year with some of the parts of the Lincoln East and the Lincoln West component, we're going to be blessed, Bill, because not only are we looking at the retail, but we're also looking at two different apartment complexes that people are very interested in building out for us.
Okay.
Of course, the 12 acres right behind Texan, they're very much interested in that. We should know something in the next 30 to 60 days. We had to put it back 30 to 60 days because it just wasn't ready. We had that huge transmission water line that's going through that property, and so it set us back a little bit. But that's okay. We're working with Mr. Lino and the city council and their group to make this a reality. Michael Baca has been great to work with. He's taken over a lot of the duties there at the water department. And so he's an asset. He really is to that organization.
I had noticed that area just to the west of the Texan had been cleared off, and I was wondering about that. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, the group that helped us out is, of course, a group called A&G Services. They're actually putting up the livestock show arena for the 4-H, which is a county project. And they were already there. You know, we had already put it out for bids, and they were gracious enough to sit down and accept the offer that we made to them. They came out and they did a lot of work in a short period of time.
That's great. Jimmy, last week we talked about what retail businesses and franchise eateries consider while evaluating whether to locate an operation into a rural West Texas community like ours. And we talked about 5 of those 10 points last week, and so we're going to pick up where we left off last week, if that's okay. And economic stability, I know that's one of the points that they certainly look at.
Well, you know, just like anything else, they want to know the stability of the oil and gas industry. And with the things that are going on in the Middle East, that's just not happening. It's a reality that there has to be a correction, and there's nothing wrong with that, whether it's done at a federal level and in some cases at a state level. But they're looking at the oil and gas activity. They're looking at government employment, the healthcare employment that we have, the school districts, and of course we have great school districts, great health care services. Now they want to know about the manufacturing and the logistics and transportation. And we alluded to a couple of those groups that have come in. We were able to share with Chevron and eventually Microsoft what our vision was. Some of the groups that are also looking at us from the European side, as well as South America, Central America, and then of course the Asian countries. That's what the last two that they're really concerned about. Can we provide the manufacturing and then, of course, the logistics and transportation? We're blessed because of Interstate 20. We're blessed because of the railroad spurs and rail system that comes through us. We're blessed because we do have an airport, and some small communities don't have the airport size that we have. You know, the judge talks about expanding that airport because of all the people that come in. But the proximity to Interstate 10 is the other key component.
Right.
285, which we are diligently working with TxDOT to expand 285 north, or actually all the way from Fort Stockton to the New Mexico border, and then of course the loop. All those two things of transportation, they take the longest, Bill, because there's only so many groups that can actually pull this off.
Right.
So we got to get in line, but TxDOT is going to take over the loop project for us.
Utility capacity and infrastructure, that's something else they look at.
You know, in a community, you can have the best people in the world, the friendliest people in the world, but if you don't have that electricity, if you don't have the water, if you don't have the wastewater treatment system, if you don't have broadband, and you don't have natural gas services, They're not coming, Bill. I don't care what they say. Think about right between Lindsay Addition and the part of the prison, there is about 150-acre tract that has been scraped off. It is all for Encore. Encore is going to put their 700 kilowatt lines all the way from the eastern part of Ward County and Martin County all the way up going into Culberson County.
Wow.
I mean, it is an amazing thing of what we've been able to work with our state officials on to get that. Then now that doesn't even exclude what we're doing with Texas New Mexico Power with the Pecos power plants number 1 and 2. But it's a 3-year, 4-year build out. People think that it just happens overnight, and all these dominoes have to be set up. You got to know what you're going to do, and when you start to push one, you got to realize one's going to push the other and the other and the other, and every once in a while, someone's going to get ahead. You got to slow it down, and you got to make the correction, but keep on letting them go if you've done the work correctly.
But infrastructure build out takes time.
It does, and without the help of my board, working with the city officials, working with the county officials, working with the hospital district, and of course then you get into the private components of the Texas New Mexico Power. And then we still have to go to the state to make sure that everything is done in order and that all the permitting is done correctly. You know, just one little hiccup stops everything. I mean, just look at Hidden Heroes number 3. We're at a hiccup right now because of an interpretation. How crazy is that? We got houses being built in your subdivision that are going to go up faster, and they started afterwards, Bill. It's crazy. Sometimes government gets in the way.
Competition and market gaps.
You know, that is where we have, I think, we've done a lot better job than Fort Stockton and Monahans. But we also realize they're our neighbors, and we want them to succeed. Some of the statistics that I shared with you last week of that we're going to beat Andrews for the first time, or we're projected to beat Andrews for the first time in the history of sales tax, as far as I could go back. But, you know, the big winners are not just the town of Pecos City. It's Fort Stockton and Monahans. Because if we don't have something that they have, people are going to go right down either to the east or to the south of us and decide that they're going to make home. And if mama's happy over there and the kids are happy, then daddy's going to just have to drive back and forth. But when we can do a better job with restaurants and retail and then customer preference and marketing strategies, we're going to be okay. But we also realize our population is a transit population, and we have to do a better job of getting people that want to work. And part of that is a better educational level.
Something else that these for eateries and businesses looking at coming into a community look at is competition and market gaps, like you said, but also community growth trends as well, Jimmy.
Well, you know, we've talked about the housing development that we're having to have, and that's the first thing. If you don't have the proper type of housing, you're going to have transit workers. Yes, the opportunities are here, but Bill, what choices do they have except to say, okay, I'm going to work 7 days on and 7 days off, I'm going home. So they're in their RVs or they're in their man camps. So we as a community have to do a better job of finding ways to create housing development. The other is the school growth. And we are growing, you know, bit by bit by bit. Can you imagine what's going to happen when the Chevron employees and the Microsoft employees, their employers say, you got to live in Pecos? What's that going to do to our school district? Luckily, with you know, our past history, we've been able to sit down and construct very fast, pass the bonds that are necessary, and pay them off very fast. But not only is it oil and gas and data centers, but Bill, we have to have other things for the spouses to do if they're moving into Pecos. Either that or have the educational components where they can go and further their educational opportunities, get an associate degree, a certificate, or even a bachelor's degree. So that's why we're working with the Texas State University system. And then, of course, we also have the transportation, the data, and the energy projects. The demands are here. We're blessed to have them. Now we just have to make sure that we have the educated workforce for them.
Local government and economic development support, that's very, very crucial.
You know, sometimes when we have individuals that do not understand what's going on, or they're self-serving sometimes it hurts because they only want to take care of a certain group of individuals. We need to do our best to try and take care of the whole. The rest of it will take care of itself. But the reality is most organizations have rules, regulations, but communities want a solid, business-friendly environment. If they're going to come in and put in their billions of dollars, like Jake McKinney, one of my board members, said, these projects start with B's, not M's anymore. These are billion-dollar projects that they're bringing in, and they want to make sure that the government is friendly, that it's stable, that it's easy to work with, but that they're also held accountable. In other words, if we tell them no, we want to tell the private sector why we're telling them no. And if they're insistent on why we should do it, let them help educate us as to why we should do it. That's the biggest goal, or that's the biggest hurdle that we're going to have to overcome.
All right, Jimmy, very good. And we have just a little bit of time left, and you do have some other questions here that retailers ask or potential retailers ask, and I know you wanted to share that with our listeners before we go.
Well, thank you. So often the retailers want to know how many customers are going to how many they're going to serve. If they create a business that's going to sit 400 people and only 50 show up, Bill, it makes no sense to them. So we have to also help them understand what the components are of our community.
Right.
The other is, can we train and retrain employees to work for them? That's where we have a tremendous amount of individuals that are wanting to work, but sometimes the language barrier gets in the way. And so Joe Keys and a group out of Odessa are working hard with the county, with the school district, with the Economic Development Corporation, and to an extent with the city, to try and make sure that we have the educated workforce to do what's going on. And then is the local economy growing? Well, we know that's happening. We're never going to stop that so long as we're blessed with the opportunities that we have. So utilities, infrastructure, if we don't have them, they're not going to come. They'll make us suffer until we do it. And so all of these things, the projects that Mr. Lino and his staff, the things that the judge and the commissioners are doing for broadband services, the things that we're doing to create these industrial parks, these commercial projects and parks, it's something else. We are blessed, and I don't know how many times we're going to have to tell that. But I will tell this to the public and to the listening audience. Don't be afraid to pick up your phone and call your elected officials and tell them if we're doing something right. By the same token, don't be afraid to call them and tell them if we're doing something wrong. Because we always hear about the negative Nellies, but do we actually sit down and do those elected officials get patted on the back often enough? Sometimes I understand why one or two people go in and complain. Oh my gosh, Bill, and then everybody thinks that's the way we all think. It's not. They are the negative Nellies. They are the small portion of the group that are trying to influence everybody else. If they don't like it, leave Pecos. We're growing, and we can't stop it.
Traffic counts also is very important as well. Of course, we've had a lot of traffic through our community, as we all know.
Yes, sir. 2 or 3 times a year, TxDOT's going to put out those meter counts. They want to know what that traffic is. And although some of it has fallen off, you have to ask yourself, has it fallen off because technology is better, or because there's less work, or because we're not producing as much oil and natural gas? The answer is number one. Technology has just gotten to the point of where you can do things a lot faster.
Housing for workers. And, of course, we're talking about some of these projects employing thousands of construction workers. And so where are we on that?
Well, that's up to the judge and the commissioner's court, because they are allowing the man camps, if they meet certain criteria, to be placed out at the work sites. And, of course, the city has made some corrections with RV parks. So we're going to see if that's going to meet the needs of the groups, and if not, they're going to have to go and talk to those governmental entities and explain to them what they're going to need.
All right. Jimmy, is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap things up here today?
No, sir. Just a listening audience. I love the fact that, my staff, Kaylin and Lila, they're out there just looking at the counts when they put the information on our website. So, ladies, thank you all so very much, because we get a lot of likes and we don't get too many dislikes. So the listening audience, Bill, they really are embracing this opportunity that that y'all have shared or open the doors for us to provide to them.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and sharing a lot of great information with our listeners here today. Pecos on the Move is the name of the program, and we have this on Monday mornings at 8:05 right here on KIUN 1400 AM. Thank you so much, Jimmy. We'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.